we're going to study various just business lingo, what is data integrity, team collaboration, all this. We'll drill down into these simple words, team collaboration, and we'll try to understand what kind of what it really means to you first of all. Then for every meaning that you will have, we'll try to get into the details, and we'll try to identify what system features do do this really mean, and then we'll see how it is done. See, okay. For example, first one is team collaboration. Okay, we have heard, all of us heard of this business need that they want to affect team collaboration, right? The entire team should be able to talk to each other with reference to the. Okay, so this is what we have all heard of it. Heard of. Question is, what does it really mean to you guys? So one thing that you guys have told is manager. That really means that manager should be able to see what his team is doing, and also I should be able to see what my peers are doing. The sales rep should be see what his peers are doing. These are the two things you have told so far. Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we are now going into another. Say that, in the cars. So okay, now the business issue, that goal is like we want to be able to make sure that everybody gets proper commissions. Right. Okay, that's a very simple goal. And obviously, this is very important for the health of the entire organization. That if people sell something, they should be able to get, they should be able to get the commissions appropriately. Right. We're trying to break it down into various, kind of business requirements. People are thinking, what do they need? So one of the things you said is there should be one person in charge. So we're trying to actually define the process also alongside. There should be one person in charge who decides the commissions, like sales VP or sales manager or someone, right? And you guys said both probably should be able to identify the, commission.
At a certain position level,
yeah,
it is provided. Like
okay.
The finance managers, they usually, in the cars industry,
yeah,
the finance managers usually, they always are able to do it.
Yeah. Let's say above certain position. Above certain position.
Right.
Okay. So above certain position. Okay. This is what you really need. Okay. That's good. This will come as a gap. That's why I'm putting this here.
Right.
It will come as a gap eventually. Okay, so sales VP or manager and someone else, above certain position people, there are three different ways. So you will, as a business owner, you will be asking these questions because one gap, one could mean more gap, one could mean less gap. So eventually we'll ask which one do they want. Okay, so we'll come back to that point. So next one is way to get the exact pay plan. For example, what it really means is, like for example, A sales rep he's paid 10% commission. B sales rep he gets 5% commission. So you want to make sure that this
pay plan is implemented properly.
Okay. What's the next one that you think, just as part of the business itself, needs to happen? Right. So we should be able to. One of the other things we should be able to identify who did which sale. If we cannot identify this thing, we cannot really implement a good commissioning system, right? Okay, these are the two things that we have identified so far. Is that enough to really make sure that we are not even talking about system? We're just trying to make sure that process can be implemented. Do you think this much in the, like, let's say sales VP determines the rate. Let's say, how will you determine his commission? How will you determine the sales rep commission on the basis of just rate? Can you determine his commission? Okay, VP should be able to see the ranks of the sales reps and determine rates on the basis of that, right? Mm-hmm. Right. So this is good. Okay, and you're trying to say that typically, the actual commission is actually calculated here in another system or something. Some other people do it.
Different department.
It's a different department. Finance department or somebody does it. And it doesn't even happen here, right? And even the check is sent from this system, the other system, right, to, it's sent by other department to the rep, right?
Yeah, that would be the check doing thing. Okay. Will be done by the accounts people now.
Okay, so for a good commissioning system, this requirement should be implemented, but in which system is the question, right? Right. So still the requirement is good.
Right.
The requirement is still good, right? We need to know, like, somebody able to calculate the actual commission. Okay, requirement is good or not, just within the context. It may be a very bad requirement, but for some other reason. For the reasons outlined so far, it is not good, bad. That's what my point is. Right. Just because it's going to be in another system doesn't mean that it is not a good requirement.
Yeah, that's a good.
But there are other reasons because of this, it is actually a bad requirement. So that's what I'm getting to. Okay.
Oh, it's a
yeah,
bad
yeah,
requirement?
yeah, but we'll get to that. But main thing is I want to hear from you what you guys are not saying because it's too obvious, you know.
Sales invoice and order
Yeah,
has
you-
to be linked with the
Exactly. If you don't link it to sales, how will you determine this commission?
Exactly, what
Right.
sale it is.
What sale it is? And your problem is really that. Did he change your pay rate? No. Okay. Just for record, we are basically trying to, there's actually one of our friends, he says that, he makes car sales, and many a time it happens that he made a sale, and actually the commission was given to someone else, right? So that's why we started this thing, how to make a good commissioning system, in the sense that, like the whole process of commissioning first, and then, we'll identify what all systems we want to make, okay? Anyway, so your problem is really that he did not change your rate. Did he change your rate?
No.
No, he changed what? He changed your sale.
Exactly.
He linked the invoice to someone else.
Right.
Right? So identify the sales. If you don't identify the sales of the people, you cannot give them commission. Right? Sales and their monetary value. And actually, Mr. Rajamani have gone too far ahead to even say a very important thing. He says that not just the sale, actual invoice. You never know if you ever paid or not. Tell me one thing. So there has to be a very, very important, there has to be like, one must study the business and see what is the objective way of identifying that the actual sale has been made. For example, in case of certain companies like Bose, when they sell the system, the commissions are determined, but then they have a 30-day return warranty. So if a return is made, then your commission is not there. You have to basically return the commission even if they pay you by mistake. That is the thing they have. In case of car, you are saying that the delivery of the order or delivery of the product is after money has been received and then there is no return.
No, it's actually.
We'll identify the sales and their monetary value. Anything else that you can think we should do, like in order to make sure that? Okay, identify the sales and their monetary value. Let's break it down further now. Okay, what is a sale in civil?
What kind of data are we gonna do?
Really, the question is, there is no entity called as sale. So what entity is it we are talking about?
order.
So it should be either order or its line item. So as part of the commissioning process, we will not be calculating the commission on the basis of the asset. That sale area, service and asset is just like the you see,
On the other side.
it's on the other side, it's on the service side. Before that, order and line item are the ones where the commissions get decided. Okay, so right there the commissions will get decided. Okay, and what about opportunity? So now you can gather the business process requirement very well as to at what level the commission is determined, whether it is for orders, whether it is for opportunities, whether it is for quotes. It is possible that they might be deciding this thing on the basis of quotes, but then order and line item are the most obvious things, right? They are the most obvious candidates, and in your business, in the car business, the commission is actually on the basis of the order and the line items. Do you think it's enough? It's a closed process. Let me say it in my own words. Marketing VP decides sales VP decides the rates. Okay. Then you make the sales, and the sales occur. So sales rep makes the sales, and the sales occur. Whenever sales occur, this payment people, they basically, or the finance department people, they calculate the number of sales, they calculate the commission, and they calculate your rate. They multiply it with the rate, then they send you a check. Right? Do you think all this is enough, or there should be some things more? Can you just explain the 72-hour rule protection?
72-hour protection rule is like, let's say today I up the customer. I start talking to them and I log in their information.
So you log in their information.
I log in their information in the system, and then that's basically I created an opportunity with all the details and everything. Then after that, the customer goes out, hey, I'll be back like say tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Then I call them back next day.
No. So the rule really is, in the car dealerships, basically they have this rule that the sales rep gets, if he creates the opportunity, then he will get half of the order and line item revenue. let's say customer, the rule is not applied on the entire order, it is for every line item. So, right, you try to identify. So, as part of the opportunity, let's say there is only one car, and by the time, and I think for every product on the opportunity, you will have a person who entered it. I don't know how I am getting confused, whether it is English. You meet with the customer and he'll log in his
Allow them
details.
that information about the customer, and then I started following up with the customer. Customer comes back the next day and they buy a car, but I'm not there.
Okay.
I'm not there at the dealership, but they buy a car, right? Somebody else helped them.
So, okay, so you
I am automatically on half a deal because I am still covered within that 72-hour protection rule.
okay.
Scenario 2. The customer comes back, they buy 2 cars. One for himself, the customer who was initially logged in. The second car they bought is like for his brother. I will get half a deal on the first customer, the one I originally logged in. I won't get anything on the second customer because that's not my original opportunity. Because the salesperson who started helping them, he has created the second opportunity by his skills or whatever. And the third scenario, let's say the customer logged in, they come back after 4 days, which is 96 hours, and I haven't had any activity with that customer in that 96-hour period. Like I didn't call them back or I didn't do anything with them, I didn't do any follow-up with them. So whosoever helps them out will get half a deal, or will get full deal, and I won't get anything. Yes, if they come back and they ask for me, yes, I will get half a deal because they came and they asked for it. So that's the rule, the way they have. There are a series of rules.
But who makes the second car opportunity? Who creates it? You don't get to create it?
No, I won't. It's considered that I didn't create it, even though the first car deal is with the original customer. So I'm on half a deal. So it's considered that like the second salesperson who started helping the customer, he is
Suppose
responsible for
if
creating that interest level in the customer that he made that deal happen.
The whole goal of the business, we should have a better commissioning system and all these things, really mean that you have to sit with a person like him and get to understand each and every rule that he's talking about. Your ability to understand those rules is very important. See, somehow I'm not clear about certain rules, but you're asking questions and if you went there, but then there are certain, you need to be very clear about all the rules. If it has to make sense, and the way it is making sense to you now is the way it will make sense to you when you will go to Comcast cable.
Right.
They will tell you the same rules. His commission is determined like this. You say, how can his commission, how will you identify that this person made the sale? No, the first thing is when he comes in, he logs something. When he logs something, so on the basis of the log, so if he ends up buying 2 cars, remember the kind of question that I asked? So this is a cross questioning. So you keep asking these questions, you try to understand their business process. And trust me, just as the business process is clear to me, I can see all the way and I can design SQL for them. But that's me. But you need to understand the system, the process too well. You cannot make a very big mistake in understanding the process. That's my whole point. But you should not get carried away by this high-level words that we should basically make sure that the team collaboration is present. Okay, so you need to understand. Okay, what do you really mean by that? We want, like for example, he said something like that. Everybody can see the log, who all came. So that's like your all accounts list, or all contacts list, or all opportunities, or visits list. These are the people who came at this time came, and he greeted and things like that. So that is your all view basically. And there are so many other things that he talked about. For example, the rules. So there was something as opportunity creation rule. So whosoever creates the opportunity, he gets entitled to any sale that is made in the next 3 days, right? Right. Or any order that is, and he also said that he does not get the credit for each and every line item. He gets it only for the line item that the customer expressed the interest about right at the outset. Is right? At that point, let's say he would have said, I want to buy 2 cars, then you would have got the credit for all those 2 cars.
Yeah, I mean, you have to specifically log it in.
Oh, okay.
Your activity plan.
Okay.
This customer is coming back for 2 cars.
So one of the things,
even buy 3 cars.
One of the things I'm seeing is that
if you do it and still actual sale, you get credit for 3 cars because you knew it.
Okay.
Yeah, you knew it. Basically, you prepared the whole deal with respect to that.
So you kind of like when you
after learning all this is if so half of the commission is split between if at the time of the sale, if he's not present, then half of the commission is split between the person who was actually there and himself. For all the items that were identified in the beginning, his half is always there for 3 days. If the sale doesn't, so there is a rule around 3 days. Then there is a rule around what all items he identified. Then there is a rule around what all items were actually sold. And then there is also a rule around who actually sold them, because we have to identify his commission also, right? So one of the things is order line item is C, but in the beginning when he enters, I think that will be products then. So for every product that he enters at that point, he'll be entitled to the commissions only on those points. Now, let's say you make one activity for the opportunity, like you call him regarding, let's say he took interest in Honda and Toyota. Then what will happen? Let's say you call him regarding Honda. Then will he get?
No, you're following up with the opportunity. You're not following up with
at the product level.
At the product level.
So that's good. And now you can see, if you can see my thought process, that means that activity will be a child of opportunity, not of the product. Otherwise, I would have asked him to log a separate activity for both the products. That's what I'm getting to basically. So can you see the system? Can you guys see the system? Basically, I see the system that here is this opportunity, and here you have these products. Okay, this is where he will enter the products. Then the sales rep will enter the products. Okay, sales rep will enter the products here. For every, he will get the credit for both. First of all, it will get stamped at the product level that this guy is the one who is gonna have the commission. So the person who enters the opportunity as well as the product is the one whose name should be stamped as the person who's gonna get the commission. Right? Basically, he will get the 72-hour lock. So I see a field here. A new field here, 72-hour lock person. Right now it is under, let's say Bobby creates the opportunity and he enters 2 products, Toyota and Honda. Okay, Toyota and Honda. On Toyota, his name will get entered as a 72-hour person. On Honda also, his name will get entered as a 72-hour person.
No,
right?
It doesn't get entered exclusively. What it does is, because the moment you create an opportunity, the system creates it. This is the moment, this is the time when this opportunity got created.
That's
from
right.
72 hours from then, so you're automatically protected. Or the moment you refresh an activity or you create another activity with that person,
that 72-hour gets again.
That gets extended again.
Okay. So what I'm seeing is that this thing, he's trying to say that this thing happens behind the scenes. The user doesn't see it, but it doesn't mean we don't have to do that. I definitely see a field, although hidden from the users. So in the GUI, nobody sees any view, right? Is that what you're trying to say?
It could be.
So there will be 2 products. He will enter 2 products here, right? And one other thing is the 72-hour rule refresh. The first one is at the time of the creation of product. Right. After that, after the 72 hours expire, that doesn't hold good, and we have to keep looking at the activity at that point. The system has to look at the activity after that, whether there was an activity on this opportunity by this person or not. Right? So we have to keep track of the original creator in that case. Right? Original creator of each and every line item in the opportunity.
Every opportunity's original creator.
Yeah.
But now what they did was like, see.
So one of the things that I'm seeing is that after so the product creator is very important, and then after that, every time an activity is created by Bobby, the entire opportunity and its children product get refreshed. Right?
I have a question.
Quite frankly, this, he said that, just as a person comes in, just as a customer comes in, there's a greeter, you can say receptionist, he walks up to him and asks him whether he's here for a sale or a service. If it is for a service, then he does not assign it to the sales reps. He simply shows them to the service door. But it's for the sales, then the first person in the queue of the sales reps gets assigned to that guy. And the next person becomes a first person now. So this actually requirement is a little hard to implement in Siva. Okay, it's quite a lot of work, because how will you scan that guy? It's a new guy, things like that. If it's an old guy, obviously.
That's why the retail industry, now I'm understanding, like retail industry.
This level 3 lines, as you can see, these mean a lot to us. We gathered, a lot of business requirements, like 72-hour rule. We identified activity, we identified opportunity level rule, we identified that the revenue is based on the order, the commission is based on the fact that who created and the who placed the order, right? So all these things, and I think just within the purview of the commissioning, I think opportunity, product, opportunity activity, order, and line item, all these come into picture, right? Rest of the things will be done off the system. For example, assignment of the customer to the up list, the top guy on the list, and I think assignment of the especially once this information is gathered, it will be sent to this system, and this system is the one which will basically make the calculations. So I have no doubt about that. Okay, it will gather all this information: who created the opportunity, what were the activities logged, and then this system will basically analyze all that. Right. And then the total revenue of the order, how many cars were sold, and also this, as you know, the rules become very complex if one person creates an opportunity and the customer ends up buying the car, two cars, more than one cars than he originally intended to, and there's another person who basically ends the sale or places the order in our case. So in all these cases, we are realizing that the algorithm is going to use the most complex branches of itself to come out with the actual value, and this is the place where the algorithm will reside.
I have another question.
There is no product based rule, because whether he sells a luxury car, whether he sells a sedan, whether he sells a mini car, all these things don't matter, regardless of the fact the pay rate is same, and it is at the rep level. Now this tells me something very interesting. Within this application Siebel, I'm just breaking it down into some portion, that this is their employee master table, right? Employee record. On the employee record, there will be an attribute, his pay rate. This is what you're telling me, that the pay rate is at the employee level. So for every employee, we have to put the pay rate, otherwise this guy cannot do his job.
See, now there is, it's getting.
So just a minute. The requirement is that the pay rate changes every month too. So when we are brainstorming, we're getting to the business, we are realizing that these three goals really become like a huge set of requirements it's becoming. And we might end up saying that we don't want to take care of this particular requirement. Okay. Well, but anyway, this pay rate also keeps on changing. So one of the things is I am seeing that this employee and the pay rate, with pay rate being an editable field and employee name being not an editable field, will be available to the VP or whosoever sets the pay rate, right? And basically we are talking about this view, the application administration, employee. Do you see employees here? Employee view with last name, first name, and just the pay rate. Maybe some other factors like this thing, but everything else will be read only for the VP. Just the pay rate will be editable, and he can enter the new pay rates for people. Okay?
Is calculated based on how many
much you
units
sold last month.
How many units you did last month. So if you did a certain amount
So
of
it's always pressure there.
It's
Yeah.
changing.
So you're saying that this pay rate is dependent upon the amount of things that you sold in the last month. So do you think Siebel would be having the information who sold what last month? It will be having. So my question to you is it a formula, or is it still, it requires human intervention? If it is a formula, what we can do is we don't need to make this in third system. I was making this third system for calculating the pay rate. Okay, pay rate calculation system, and my idea was this is the opportunity data. Okay, this is the children product data. Sorry, this is the order data, and there will be children products in it. I'm making children product, like this, just little smaller. So these are the products. This is the entire opportunity. This is the order, and I'm just showing this as a line item. So this is opportunity, this is order, this is line item. So this little small one is line item, this little small one is the product. You are saying that on the basis of all this information, this pay rate is calculated. If it is a simple formula, we don't need to make a separate system. We can simply make sure that this employee pay rate is set up on the basis of this, and this. Okay? To show you the entire application, we are talking about this entire application. Here is this application. We're talking about this screen, opportunity Product view is this one. We are also talking about order and line items, right? All sales orders, and these are the various line items. Okay, this is what you're really talking about. So these are represented by these 4 little boxes. Okay, these 4 highlighted boxes, and this one I already showed you this is the application administration screen. Now I'm brainstorming the idea. If it is a complex one and it requires human intervention at some point of time, then I will not make it automated. Then I will calculate it in a separate system. If it doesn't require a human intervention, then I'll just make the system automatically calculate it. One of the important things that I want you guys to remember is these calculation systems are basically made in the certain softwares called as rules engines. Okay, so these rules engines are made here. So we have heard this term called as business rules. Business logic has business rules. Many people confuse that. They think that business logic is made in the rules engine. That's not true. Just look at the work of this one, which calculates the commissions actually, right? Which actually calculates the final commission. So for this engine to work, it has to know this data. That's one issue. It has to know this data also, employee pay rate. But then it has to have so many. It might be having calculating this thing on the basis of so many factors, and it might be processing so much information that this has to be a separate software. And these softwares are usually made using like system called general category of softwares called as rules engine. For example, like you make your sales and marketing systems on the basis of like Siebel, which is a CRM. Similarly, you make the commissioning systems on the basis of certain softwares called as rules engines. Okay. So it could be a different system altogether, Mr. Rajamani. Totally different system. Totally different system.
So then again you have to create an integration.
That's how it will be actually. I don't see any way of Siebel doing such huge amounts of calculations and taking care. Yeah, because Siebel is not a calculation algorithm. Siebel is basically for storing your sales data and marketing and service data. So big line, you guys do not know the meaning yet. If you ask me, you guys just know it as from a flavor or from a story perspective. But it's going to make little sense to you. But then still, Siebel is more of like transactions. And when all these rules have to be calculated, how much percentage and all these things have to be calculated, they are calculated in a thing called as commissioning. This system called as this commissions, where commissions are. But for it to work properly, we need to have all this data. Otherwise, we cannot make it work.
Sorry, here's the trash please.
It's somewhere else. That's fine. So we understand what you're talking. So pay rate calculation system also can be made. If it is a very complex system, then I will make it in a separate system.
So how to determine if it's
Basically, there will be I'm making an arrow. Give me one. So data will flow from here to here, and after that, do you think some data will go back also? Can you tell me what these 2 arrows could mean, Prabhaji? This one basically carries the pay rate back. This one has basically the data to calculate the pay rate, which is going to come from this system, right?
right?
Similarly, for commissions, the commissions will be calculated here. And remember, I was saying that then I definitely see another system. Like I'm just giving it a funny name, but it will make the things very clear. Actual paycheck cutting system. Right? This is a rules engine. We make it in something, but then here the actual paycheck is cut. Okay. So
What do you mean by cut here?
your job is to tell what data will go, which we already discussed. The inputs will be this data. So you have to obviously get into the nitty-gritty of that data in exact row and products that will go.
Okay.
Not all the products have to go. So that is your job to really identify the exact data. For example, you have to, if only the last month determines this thing, then only the last month's data should go. Right? So identifying all these rules is your job.
Okay.
How will it go? HTTP or PTP or PGP or HHP is not your job. But your job is quite complex, because if the wrong data comes here, it will not be able to calculate the job, pay rate properly. And then this one should be working too. How it will work, and its job of development guys. But your job is to make sure that the pay rate comes back, and then pay rate comes here. And I can tell you one thing: this pay rate you are allowing him to change here so far. Let's say you make an employee pay rate view in which pay rate is also editable. Then you cannot do that.
No, that has a restricted access.
That's your job. If you don't make it a restricted access now, within the so if some other system is supposed to do that, and you make it a readable, you make it an editable field here, you're talking about a problem which is yours.
But then,
There's a thing called as business service in Siebel. So if these kind of rules which are made on the bulk of data, so this is definitely different from the business logic layer rules. That's something else, clearly. Okay, that's something else. But if there are rules like which act on a bulk of data and things like that, what we can do is we can make kind of a function. We make a function in code, right? So we can make a simple function which is like a business service, and we make a business service, and whenever we run that service, employee pay rate will get updated. It will look at the historical data and things like that. So so basically, I'm trying to propose is that this thing can be implemented here also. In that case, within the system. So this will be implemented in the form of a business service. So you don't need a separate system. That's what I was asking you, whether these are going to be very complex or whether they're going to be okay. If they're going to be very complex, but they act on the...
This one is simple actually. This one is kind of simple.
So if it is a simple rule, then I will simply make it a business service. I'll make it a business service right here. And then these layers, the integration will not be required. The data will come from, within Siebel from data, this will come from here to here, and data will go from here to here without any issues. So but if it is a separate system, then if it is like a very complex algorithm, then I can make it as a part of a separate system. Yeah. Typically the rule is this: however complex the rules are, if they need input from different systems, then I will implement it as a separate thing. Otherwise I will implement it right within the system. Like for every this idea, this vision ideas, they'll be having high level like scoping. No, we'll do this thing, but then it get down to the business requirement level. At that point, we'll see what are we gonna do what are we not gonna do. We might leave certain things manual, and we might implement certain things in the system. And also, the kind of place where he's working, there is a huge system there, and Siebel is not the only system there. There are like huge multiple systems interacting with each other, multiple applications. So when he was thinking, he has to think these are the requirements which are already there. These are the 15 requirements which are not there, which need to be done. And all of these he will say, okay, this requirement needs this system to be upgraded, not the Siebel one, not the other system. And I need to upgrade a little bit this interface also. Some other data element also has to be passed through this layer.
Right.
Okay. So he has to develop that kind of thinking. He has to develop a huge, like what we call it, the system architecture. He has to develop the system architecture, system analyst cap he has to wear all the time. When he is identifying gaps, he cannot just say Siebel cannot do this. He has to say within the whole thing of system, within all these systems, none of the systems cannot do it. Or we need to upgrade Siebel here, and we need to upgrade this thing here. Okay. For example, within my company, I know that we are putting certain features in Siebel, which are basically for future. For example, at employee level, we are maintaining a field whether he's a service team or not, whether he belongs to a service team or not. What is the criteria for service team? This will be given manually to me, and I'll put it here. And employee, he's a service team guy, and then finish. So my job is over. But then I asked them, why do you want me to, like I asked my manager, where this requirement coming from? Why do you want me to identify whether this employee is from service team or not? So the answer he told me is that it is for future. In the future, sometime in July, they want to implement a functionality that whosoever belongs to the service team can work on these accounts. He cannot work on these accounts, or he can take these kind of calls. So these kind of rules are coming in the picture. So that means, so this also happens. So you have to, this is a phased implementation, because on April 21st, we are rolling out a system, right? So why don't we might as well combine the effort and do half of the requirement now itself. Now we have to implement in June just the half of the requirement, rest of the half of the requirement. So this is project management. Okay. So we talked about phased approach, we talked about project management, we talked about functionality breaking into two parts. We also talked about functionality breaking it across systems and seeing how systems will interact. We also talked about maintaining an employee table, right? And what are data? And that's the master data, right? Right. I also talked about that it will be manually set. clearly. So we talked about manually setting the data versus automatically setting the data. Period was automatically calculated in certain cases. We also talked about whether the period will be set up automatically by within the system or by another system. We also talked about this period being done outside the system, but without this input. We talked about that. That is what is happening in your case. We are just discussing various ideas, various requirements, and then we are looking into system, and then within we are looking at the system architecture, and then I also showed you certain screens to understand how these systems, when we say functionality within a system, what does it really mean when it comes to Siebel? It really means opportunity, it really means product, line items, activities, orders. It also means the revenue calculation has to be proper. It also means the created by fields have to be maintained. It also means that you have to do a lot of work in the GUI to make sure that functionality can be implemented. Is it right? You can just use this GUI. You have to maintain like created by field. You have to make sure that created by field is updated. Activity created by field is updated. All this information is available here to this system, right? So we are talking. We have basically taken it from the vision. We have from the vision to scope or the business requirements. Then we took it to functional requirements, which are like detailed rules, and then we took it to design. Then we took the design at two levels: system level design and the Siebel level design. System level means like all the systems interacting. Okay, and this is very interesting. Is it giving you some idea about how you're gonna be interacting, what kind of details you need to gather, what kind of details you need to understand, and how you really keep thinking in terms of various systems, and how do you keep thinking in terms of the Siebel GUI design, because that is what you will be eventually doing. One other thing is you didn't talk, but then I need to talk about this. Like you said that all this data will go here. Period calculation to period calculation system. Should it go it every day in a batch? Should it go in a real-time basis, or should it go in a monthly basis? I think monthly is fine. So monthly batch is fine. Okay. Yeah. Similarly, this also should be monthly.
But payroll, isn't it usually if it's bi-weekly, then
yeah, commission. Yeah, she's right. Now commission has to be then bi-weekly or weekly. So this interface has to run every week. And one other important thing is this period calculation system has to run at the start of the week. Sorry, at the start of the month, the first. So that means it should run on the 31st night. It cannot run on 30th because number of sales occurring on 31st will be lost in the calculation. So it has to run on the last day of the month in the evening after the dealership is closed. So we are just trying to identify. I have given you all these ideas separately so far, but we never tried to combine these ideas into one game. So today we discussed Siebel GUI, we discussed screens, we went to the views, we went to the applets, we identified applets. We also identified, we talked about rules engine. That was a new thing, but then we talked about integration layers. We have discussed real-time and batch integration, right? This is where it comes into picture. Systems have to interact. We discussed two new ideas: business service and rules engine. Business service is a new idea. You need to remember that I told you business service.
Business service is part of